Thank you very much, Councillor Taoiseach. The nitrates derogation reduction becomes a reality from the 31st of this month, and from 250 down to 220. And what it means is that we have to slaughter 40,000 heavily in calf cows this coming year, because there's no other market for them, and 160,000 in the next 4 years. Farmers will become have reduced incomes, and smaller farmers will become unviable. Tim Hurley from Inches and Rathmore has 58 cows presently. He worked hard to bring them up to that figure. He tells me that his advisor tells him he'll have to reduce them down to 48 because he can't rent any more land or he can't buy any more land because it's too expensive. And it's the first time in history that the farmers of Ireland are compelled to cull their cows. And if we do reduce production, it doesn't follow that consumers will reduce consumption, unless he can organise a hunger strike worldwide. But they will have to get the food somewhere else. And it doesn't matter to you whether it's from Brazil or Argentina or New Zealand. He don't mind once he'll get your figures down here. But we're all under the same sky. Surely if we're talking about the climate and carbon emissions, that it should matter if the other crowd are increasing and creating more emissions. Have you ever heard of such a thing as sequestration? You're telling the farmers of Ireland that you can't measure sequestration of carbon until 2027 or later. But at the same time, you're hell-bent in reducing the cow numbers this year because Eamon Ryan wants it to do. And you're under his apron, and for yourself and Micheál Martin to stay in power and the rest of you, he'll sell the farmers of Ireland. Do you know what's happening in the rest of the world? The USA, I happened to go over there for a funeral last week for a couple of days. The biggest of vehicles, there's roads under, there's roads over, there's roads up and down beside you with 6 lanes on every side. The biggest of vehicles, all petrol, 8-litre petrol. Germany are going mining new coal mines. China building hundreds of coal burning power stations. And I certainly know that you don't have AdBlue in India. If you're talking about water quality, and surely that's what this is about, but why aren't you so interested in doing something about the hundreds of treatment plants and settlements around the county of Kerry and even around the country that have no treatment plant? They are polluting the water. And just one other thing, Taoiseach. If all of us are evaporated out of this country tonight, to only make 0.13 of 1% of a difference worldwide. And this is what he put in the people, the torture that he put in the people through. For the sake of Eamon Ryan and for staying in power and for no other bloody reason, but that's what he's at. And drive the farmers and the people of Ireland down to the ground. That's what you think of him.
Thank you. Taoiseach, please.
Thanks, Deputy. I think it's important to put on the record of the House that the nitrates directive and derogation is an environment law, and it's about water quality above all. And no matter what they do in America or India or China, and no matter what Eamon Ryan thinks or doesn't, I would have thought all of us in this House want to have high quality waterways, rivers in our country. So it's in all our interests, urban, rural, farmers, non-farmers, to have pristine and clean rivers and clean water in our country. And ultimately that's what the nitrates directive and derogation is about. It's not about CO2 emissions or climate. It is about water quality. I'm disappointed that we weren't able to hold on to the 250. We did our best to do so. The Commissioner, Minister McConalogue, and I met the Commissioner, explored any possible flexibilities that we could get, including moving the date for implementation. But the rules are clear, and they're there written down in black and white in European law. We do have some flexibilities. The average is not immediate from the 1st of January. It's over the period of the year, so people can delay implementation, but obviously that means doing more in the latter half of the year and the consequences that arise from that. But it doesn't have to happen on January the 1st. It's the average over the full year. There's the possibility of exporting slurry. There are other options available to farmers too. And as well as that, there's some changes to how calves are calculated in the directive and help for farmers announced in the budget in terms of slurry storage and so on. But my biggest concern, Deputy, and this is a concern that I have for Irish farmers and our food industry, is the possibility that we will lose the derogation altogether in 2025. The Netherlands has already lost it. It's already gone in Flanders. It's just Ireland and Denmark that continue to have this derogation. And I have a big concern that we'll lose it altogether. And if we lose it, we'll be doing a big disservice to Irish farmers, to farm incomes, and to our wider food industry. And the worst thing we can do now for farmers is to tell them that this problem is going to go away, because it's not. We have to work together to improve our water quality. And that means changes being made on farms. It also means improving Irish waters, infrastructure, and doing lots of other things. But the last thing we can do now is to turn a blind eye or tell people this problem is going to go away. It isn't. The way we keep the derogation that we have is to improve our water quality, and that means government and farmers working together to make sure that happens.
Danny Healy-Rae.
It's very clear. The critical point here is if we don't sell the food from Ireland, that we'll get it elsewhere. And it's very clear to me that neither you or Micheál Martin or Charlie McConaughey put up any real fight to stop this. Because if they don't get, consumers will have to get the food. And we have 1 million more people in Ireland. And I hope you're not thinking of slaughtering some of them, even though I wouldn't trust you if Eamon Ryan asked you to do it. But the cow is the easy option. And what about the treatment plants? You're making no attempt in the world. This is going on since I came up here in 2016. I and others in the House have been raised it. There's no difference, no improvement. Kinmare is waiting. Corran, Scotland don't have any. Castleoyne is waiting for the next extension. It is all over the county. Knocknagossel, Brosnan, we don't have the treatment plants. And the waters are being polluted. What's the difference in polluting the water from bad treatment plants? And if you're saying that the cattle are doing it, and I doubt it very much, but the farmers are the first target, and that's why, at the present time, Taoiseach, there's so many young farmers not going to take over because they can't bear the villainisation that farmers are getting and the criticism they're getting. They're being blamed for the whole thing, and yet we see what's happening in the rest of the world. No one else is doing what you're doing.
Please.
But because Eamon Ryan flies out in a cop to cop or whatever, he'd want to get a bottle of cop on somewhere because the racket is going on. I mean, and to give 2 weeks over in Dubai, where they don't give one tuppence about it because they'll drill oil and they'll shove the land out into the sea and they'll build cities. And we can't build a house here, a local fella can't get planning permission to put a roof over his head. That's what we have here.
You're on a roll.
I don't like anyone being demonised when it comes to this debate. I don't like to see farmers being demonised, and I don't like to see farmers being climate shamed, and I don't like to see my colleague, the Minister for the Environment, Minister Ryan, being demonised either. This is a European law agreed by 27 member states, and it's been around for quite some time, long before Eamon Ryan was a member of this government. And I believe it's possible to produce high quality food in this country and still have good water quality. That's actually what people in Ireland want in rural and in urban communities. And if we get the reputation for producing food in a way that is not sustainable, we will lose market share around the world. 90% of the food we produce is for export. And we need to maintain that reputation of having sustainable agriculture and being genuine about the Origin Green concept. So it's in everyone's interest to get this right. Farmers want to keep the derogation, we want to keep our market share around the world, and we also want to improve our water quality. And that means government and farmers working together to make sure that happens between now and 2025. Yes, it involves investment in treatment plants, it also involves reducing industrial waste, and it involves changes on farm. And if we do that, we will keep the derogation. But bear this in mind, to keep the derogation to a vote of 27 member states, most of whom don't have the derogation and see it as a competitive advantage that we have. So we need to be clever about this, and it doesn't involve slagging off Eamon Ryan. It means boxing clever, actually looking after the interests of farmers, and that means improving our water quality so we can keep the derogation.
Thank you very much. Please, Deputy.